Welcome back to Jeff's channel, and thank you for all the support on the last video. Last time, we explored the very first case from the Kindaichi Case Files, uncovering the truth behind the school's dark mysteries and exposing the so-called after-school magician. And today, we'll again follow our protagonist Hajime into an abandoned research facility, and deal with something far more primal. So, without further ado, let's get into the Forest of Cerberus. Hello, it's me, Hatch Kindaichi again. My classmate Ted invited my friends Miyuki, Nick, and I to spend the summer in the forest house owned by his family. But as you know, our vacation never goes as planned. When we arrived, the forest house had already been ravaged by some kind of wild animals. After having walked about a mile in the dark ooze, Nick pointed at the seemingly abandoned building. A middle-aged man named Kintawada stopped us before we could head in, saying no one could take the thing hidden here. While we had no idea what he was talking about, a young guy opened the gate and drove the madman away. His name was Thomas Yoruzuya, and heir to a prestige private hospital, and this building used to be a research institute owned by his family. He generously agreed to accommodate us and introduced us to his companions, Maya Sando, Ian Igarashi, Vincent Momada, Adam Watanabe, and Molly Ninomiya. There were students from the same medical school except Molly, who was from another university and came to Maya's invitation. Nick told them that I was a student detective who had a reputation for being cursed to encounter murder cases wherever I go. I mean, he said that I had a reputation of solving the most bizarre cases encountered. The haughty jerk Adam didn't look convinced, and he challenged me with a riddle. Who is the most special one among all of us here? What? You call that a challenge? Come on, it was only a Japanese wordplay. My surname Kindaichi had a kanji meaning 1. Molly's surname had a kanji for 2. Maya was 3, Miyuki was 7, Ian was 50, Vincent was 100, Nick was 1000, and Thomas was 10,000. You are the only one without a number in your last name, so you are the special one.
Easy peasy, Japanesey.
Maya clapped, saying that I could help them with what they called a secret mission. She said they were here looking for genetic research data. This building was previously an institute that genetically modified animals and make them gigantic. Wait, what's the point of doing this? To create godzillas? Well, anyway, it was rumored online that they succeeded, and all their experimental records were kept somewhere in this building. To repay Thomas' hospitality, I agreed to help them retrieve the data. I soon found a secret passage behind the bookshelf, through which we went down to a hidden place like a dungeon. Upon entering it, we immediately sensed a rotten smell and saw skeletons of many dogs. It looked like all dogs raised here were dead, all but one. At the end of the dungeon, there was a super big cage that could even accommodate a black bear, and the plaque on it said Cerberus. Of course, the name was gained from the three-headed dog guarding the gate of the underworld in Greek mythology. Sorry, I mean this one. We then found several claw marks high on the wall, which was certainly out of reach for ordinary dogs. So it might be true then. This was the monster the previous research produced, and it escaped, or worse, still wandering in this derelict ruin, waiting to prey on anyone who entered its territory. Next morning, Miyuki and I found that the kitchen had been ravaged, apparently by some kind of beast. The food was torn by some sharp teeth, and there were claw marks in the black fur left, just as we saw in the cage labeled Cerberus. Nate came to the kitchen, still eating his bread and asking what happened. I asked him where the landlord was, and he told me that Thomas was shaving the bathroom now. Suddenly, a high-pitched scream came from the stairway. It was Ken, the madman we met before, and at his feet there was Maya, dying horribly with claw marks all over her body. Ken argued that he had nothing to do with it. He was a former employee of this institute, and he was here to looking for his research data before, just like the rest of the group was doing. He said that Maya must have bumped into Cerberus and got killed by it. As we spoke, a dog broke through the window and bit on Nick's arm, making them fall and knocked over a bucket full of water. The dog seemed scared and escaped. but we found in despair that the entire building had already been surrounded by dogs coming from nowhere. We boarded up all windows by planks, and Ian, as a medical student, realized the meaning of a hydrophobic dog. It was rabid, and Nick was very likely infected. His life was at stake now, and he needed to get vaccinated as soon as possible. But we were currently deep in the mountains, and there were no phone signal at all, making this impossible to call for help. And as if it were not terrible enough, we suddenly realized that there was another one missing. We searched the entire building and finally found Thomas in the bathroom on the first floor. He suffered the same fate as Maya, but it seemed like he already boarded up the bathroom window before he died, meaning that the thing killing him had to be inside the building. Now everyone became paranoid. We checked the first floor to make sure all windows were sealed and all rooms were clear, and used everything we could find to block the staircase to the second floor. While I held strengthening the boarded up windows, I found something fishy. There was a whistle left on the floor, but it didn't work as I blew it. Besides, the nails we have here were oddly new and rust-free, looking almost incompatible with this forgotten ruin. In the evening, I accidentally saw Molly standing in front of the cage in the basement, holding her pet dog, Yuri. She said, "I'm sorry, you must be lonely," as though she were talking to someone imprisoned here. Back to the first door, Miyuki told me that Nick already knew what happened to him. We needed to get him into hospital as soon as possible. I smiled ruefully. Now the storm place was besieged by a large group of rabid dogs. It was totally impossible to break through. As we spoke, Yuri suddenly became anxious, and the lines shone through the window, showing the silhouette of an absurdly large dog. We were both petrified, and as the shadow faded, I got my courage up to open the door, only to find there was nothing in the corridor. Miyuki and I told others what just happened, and just as we were worried, the barricade we built on the stairway had been destroyed. While I was looking for the broken whistle found earlier, Yuri became restless again.
Yuki, 早く逃げろ! 早く!
We were now cornered and had no way to escape, but the dogs suddenly retreated, as though they received some kind of order, and even Yuri calmed down. While we were still badly shaken, the sound of a body falling came from the stockroom. There was a new victim. Adam was lying on the floor lifelessly. The claw marks, the animal fur, the entire scene was exactly like the two murders before. The only weird thing was that Adam seemed to crush the tomato with a melon before he died. Could it be some kind of message he tried to deliver? And to make the condition even worse, Nick collapsed in pain. Although the symptoms of rabies were not supposed to appear that fast, he still believed that he wouldn't last a few months. He told Miyuki that he would choose to stay with his loved ones if he only had 6 months left. We didn't know what to say, and I once again made up my mind, right here, right now. I will solve this case quickly and save my friend. I swear by the name of my grandfather Kosuke, the greatest detective who ever lived. I walked deep in thought through the corridor. I need to go through all things taking place today. In the morning, we found the kitchen had been ravaged by some beasts, and Maya was likely killed by it. And then, first dog attack, and Nick got bitten. After we boarded up all windows, we found Thomas dying in the bathroom. We then blocked the stairway, but in a few hours, the barricade was sabotaged. The dogs attacked again, and Adam was killed. By the way, what did Adam's last message mean? Our name list. Could that be it? Miyuki and I then went to Thomas' room. In Thomas' bag, I found his contact lenses left untouched in the case. Ian told us that Thomas was nearsighted. He couldn't even walk properly without glasses. That's it. Everything finally fits. The so-called Cerberus was never a dog. It was a person. And I just know who it is. All of a sudden, Vincent let out a terrifying scream and opened the window. Apparently, he couldn't stand it anymore and decided to escape at all costs. While we tried to calm him down, A dog charged through the open window, and just as luck would have it, Nick got bitten by it once again.
Oh no!
After repelling the dog with water, I began to tell everyone the truth I found out. The demon hound didn't exist. The killing spree here was committed by a human. The murderer's identity was already pointed out by Adam's lost message, a tomato crushed by a melon. Remember the riddle he told me when we first met? Besides Adam, we all have numbers in our last names. The tomato is not a fruit, so it stood for the special one, namely Adam himself. And the melon was the biggest fruit in the stockroom, so it stood for the living person whose last name contained the greatest number here. That is, the person with the last name meaning 1000. Nick Senke, you are the murderer Cerberus. Molly and Ted were confused, saying that we came here just by accident. There was no way Nick could plan on it. No, I said, it was not an accident. It was a mapped-out trap from the beginning. The article online about the Animal Project was actually posted by Nick himself, and when we relocated from Ted's house, it was also Nick who led us here. After bringing everyone into this building, he used the dogs to isolate us. Yes, the dogs bite, and they're afraid of water, but it doesn't necessarily mean that they were rabid. In fact, they were not. They feared water because they were trained to be. Remember the whistle I found after the first dog attack? It was a dog whistle. It can emit high-frequency sound that only dogs could hear. Nick hid the dog whistle in his breakfast bread, using it to order dog attacks. Yuri became restless right before each attack because he heard the dog whistle too. Nick accidentally dropped the whistle when he was bitten on the right arm. That's why the dog stayed still for quite a while until he got a chance to retrieve the whistle. By making us believe that the dogs were rabid, he successfully imprisoned us in this abandoned building and took his targets out one by one. As for the gigantic hound we saw, it was simply an optical trick. Nick placed a flashlight at the end of the corridor, summoned the dog, and made it stand close to the light source. The dog's shadow would be dramatically enlarged when projected onto the window, making us believe that Cerberus really existed. Nick argued that Miyuki was caring of him when Thomas was killed. He had no chance to commit any murder. You're right, I said. Unless Thomas actually died much earlier than we thought. Here's the thing. None of us has seen Thomas this morning. We were under the impression that he was alive merely because you said he was in the bathroom shaving. In fact, he was killed much earlier this morning. He was your first victim. You soaked his body with a shower spray to obscure the time of death, and boarded up the bathroom window before you left. You then ordered dogs to attack and convinced us that they were rabid, making us to board up all windows. You even prepared nails for us, which explained the new nails I found in such an old building. And consequently, when we found Thomas dying in the bathroom with windows sealed, we would naturally believe that he was killed after you were injured by the dogs, providing you a perfect alibi. Very clever. But unfortunately, there was one important thing you overlooked. Thomas was severely nearsighted. He couldn't do anything without his contact lenses on. And now the lenses stayed in the case, meaning that he couldn't have done any hammer and nails work before he died. Nick gave up denying. Indeed, you have your grandpa's brain image, he said. It would be perfect if you didn't solve the case so quickly. Through his confession, we knew the tragic story behind these murders. About a year ago, Nick helped a girl saving a stray dog on the street. Her name was Royce Miller, a novice dog trainer working in an animal shelter. In the next few months, they became close friends, and the chemistry was gradually built between them. One night, Royce told Nick a shocking truth. She was diagnosed with a fatal disease. She had only about 6 months left. She said she had no regrets, and she was so happy because she met him in her final days. She said it as if she were talking about the spring outing, and Nick was deeply moved by her positive attitude and inner strength. He also reviewed his feelings for her. If you choose to spend the rest of your days with me, I can promise that I'll never leave your side. And in that solid night, under the starry sky, she tearfully accepted his love. But such a beautiful love story was soon destroyed by Thomas Yorozuya and his friends. 2 weeks later, Royce went to the hospital for a routine checkup, but unfortunately she never made it back. Nick refused to believe the cause of death given by the hospital, and through his persistent investigation, he found out what happened. Royce was not attended by any licensed physicians. Those who treat her, Thomas, Maya, Adam, and Vincent, were only medical students without any qualifications. Just because Thomas was the son of the hospital's CEO, they were allowed to practice medicine on the critical patients during their summer internship, and they showed no remorse at all to Roy's death.
まあな。でもあの患者、どうせあと半年しか生きられなかったんだろ？不幸中の幸いってやつ。
Thomas' nonchalant attitude enraged Nick. He decided to avenge Royce and make sure that Thomas and his accomplices pay for what they did. After his confession, Nick blew the dog whistle and ordered the dogs to tear Vincent into pieces. But to his surprise, the dog didn't listen to him this time. They sat down and stared at Nick quietly, as if they wanted their friends to stop this madness. I pat Nick on the shoulder. Yes, Nick, please stop. A sweet, tender girl like Royce wouldn't want the man she loved to kill in her name. Nor would she want the dogs she cared to be used as murder weapons. Nick eventually dropped the whistle and spared Vincent, putting an end to the horror brought by the demon hound Cerberus. Everything came back to normal again. Disciplinary actions has been taken to Vincent in the hospital he worked in to answer for Roy's death, and Ken was disappointed to find out that the experimental data he was looking for never existed. But on the other hand, Molly felt relieved more than ever. Her father was the head of the research institute, and the dogs raised here were all her childhood friends. Now she was glad to know that no more dogs would be harmed in the name of scientific research. And Ted agreed to adopt Nick's dogs, topping up the entire case with a warm conclusion. This case is a typical closed circle mystery, where everyone involved is isolated and the number of suspects is limited. It is a common element of detective fiction for decades. One of the most successful and well-known examples is Agatha Christie's And Then There Were None. But what makes this episode stand out is how the isolation is created. Instead of using something physical, like an island or country house, the culprit here traps everyone psychologically, using the fear of a monster and the fear of rabies, which becomes a perfect prison. But this case is not without its flaws. There's no truly decisive physical evidence against the culprit, which is actually a common trait in Ponkaku, or the so-called orthodox Japanese mystery. These stories tend to focus heavily on the whodunit. Sometimes they just overlook everything else. So personally, that's not always my preference, but of course, it's just my opinion. And if you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe to this channel. Your support really means a lot, and is what keeps me making more videos like this. Thanks for watching, and the next Kindaichi case is coming soon.